Hello and welcome to another Looney Tunes review video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to follow my journey to review all 1000 classic Looney Tunes shorts and give this video a like as well. So this is a review for Hare Ribbin, released in 1944. It's the 434th in the series, and it's directed by Bob Clampett. You can find this on the Looney Tunes Gone Collection Volume 5 DVD set, and on the Bugs Bunny 80th Blu-ray set, with both versions of this short, and I'll explain what that means in just a few moments' time. It is under copyright. You will not find this short on YouTube. Warner Brothers does not want their copyrighted material on the platform. But in case you haven't seen this one, we see a dog who is based off of the Mad Russian radio character, which again we'll go through once the review is underway. And he's after a rabbit, and Bugs pretty much tricks him for the rest of the short, which mostly takes place underwater. So story-wise, not much to it, but thankfully it's a really funny one, so that doesn't actually matter. First up, you're going to see is a re-edit of the original commentary I did with my good friends Blugenesi, who helped edit this video, and Stilley, and also another commentary that I did with my good friend FoxInAFix, because we covered both versions of this short, both the theatrical cut that was done after the original version that Clampett did that was deemed to be too gruesome and sexual and that sort of stuff. So we'll definitely go through all of that. And then there'll just be a few bits at the end that I missed in those original tracks. So without further ado, let's get into it. With me today are my two good friends, Blugenesi and Steph Stilley. Say hi.
Hi, everyone.
Buy the Bugs Bunny 80th Blu-ray set if you haven't already. I'm just going to say that right now.
So, Steph, you'd probably know the reference better than me. I believe this is Burt Gordon that they're imitating, this Russian dog, is that right?
Yeah, I guess he did a character on radio called the Mad Russian, so this was kind of a send-up on that. And that scene there, you saw him sniffing Bugs' armpit, and there's an interview with animator Phil Monroe, and he said that he wasn't alone in this, but several animators for Bob Clampett at the time they felt his humor was like a little too risque at the time. And Phil Monroe, I guess, had qualms about even animating a character sniffing like an armpit, but it's pretty tame nowadays. But I mean, in the 40s, that was like seen as very in bad taste, I guess.
I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, it's really good. So,
Yeah,
but Blue,
it's funny.
what do you think of the design of this dog? I mean, just the hair, it's just your typical Willoughby dog with the hair.
I love, I gotta be honest, this isn't exactly what you asked about, but there is some great gags here and some great stills, like when when the dog pulled himself out of the hole there and just like put his arm on his like cheek, or his hand on his cheek. That was hilarious. And then Bugs does like the stereotypical Italian look, I guess. I mean, I don't know if that's what they were going for. That's what I see.
I want to point out also the warped glass effect. I mean, what was interesting, and Steph, I'm not sure if you know more about this than me, but as I understand it, Schlesinger told the boys to stop using it because apparently it was costing more money. So Bob just did this anyway, just to, I guess, spite Schlesinger or something along those lines. Have you heard of any rumor, anything about that?
Yeah, I've heard about that. It's kind of questionable why he did it, though, because this was already, I don't know if you mentioned this in a previous commentary, but Clampett was really behind schedule with his releases this year, which is why Frizz did a remake to kind of help him out a bit, since he was a few pictures behind. So the fact that he went through all this trouble and like went even more over budget, I mean, I'm sure the management wasn't happy.
I have to say the dog's reaction is pure Avery, and I love it so much. This entire bit makes me laugh so much.
The rocket. Just such a great animation.
And then what was it, Mommy, buy me that, or like whatever he said. That kills me every time.
Now, one thing I want to point out here, and this is something that even Blue didn't realize, but if you listen very closely when he yells out for hey Steve, which is about here, I'll let you guys listen to that. You hear this gibberish, but that's actually the poor taste Asian voice from Bugs Bunny Nips the Nips.
Hey Steve, want a bunny on a bun?
It sounds just like the gibberish that they would use in like later cartoons, like whenever Bugs would like impersonate a French chef or something. Because he does it a few times again, and it sounds exactly like that, so I would never have known.
One thing that viewers may be wondering, those who are familiar with this cartoon, is that there was actually 2 cuts. And right here, you're going to see when he gets in the sandwich, there is this one brief moment. He rings he hits the triangle, and then you'll see for a split second, like Bugs is like, I'm lifting up my feet. That one little bit was not in the original cut.
This one's a funny one, but it's kind of obvious the writing's on the wall for Clampett because of the alternate ending and everything.
Yeah, I feel kind of bad because I really love the Clampett of this period so much, and there's only a few more of him like this.
Say hi, Fox.
Hi guys, we're watching this cartoon another time, but it's not the same. I think this is the only version of this cartoon, the only print of this version in existence. This came from apparently the private collection of Mark Kausler. So this could be the only surviving print of this director's cut that Bob Clampett did for this cartoon, which was edited heavily later actually, which is the version you just saw, the official version.
The only other time I know of there being 2 different versions is all the way back in the Bosco days with Bosco and Honey, and I forgot the other ones.
Here you see a part that would be cut in the official version. This part takes way longer than the part you see in the other version.
Yeah.
So it's sniffing, and this is apparently this is drawn by Rod Scribner. You can see it very clearly on how Bugs is drawn, I think. This is Bob McKimson again, this scene. Another familiar person on this cartoon is Lou Lilly, who also wrote Angel Puss. I cannot spot any similarities, can you?
No, it's so weird. With Lou Lilly, he writes one of the worst Looney Tunes ever, and yet he writes some of the best Looney Tunes ever when he's with Clampett. It's weird. It's so weird.
He just didn't work with Chuck Jones, apparently. I love this costume.
It is great.
So there's another part coming up that was entirely cut later for the official version, and it's the part where the dog is looking over and where Bugs is hinting him to come at him. And then the dog is panting with very big eyes and a big tongue. You'll see it in a few seconds. Here it comes. Yeah, this was entirely cut, the little scene for 3 seconds.
I always thought it was just pretty much the ending and that was it, but no, there's a lot more to it.
Well, it's kind of a dragged out cartoon, and that part was apparently too sexual. There's another part coming up where they are playing tag, and they play for very long, and the first half was actually cut as well. You'll see that it's gonna take a while. But if you see the official version and you pay attention to it, it looks very choppy actually.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'll definitely look at that, because it's weird how you're pointing out the... Oh, here we go. Yeah, this bit here, yeah.
Well, they're doing this for like 4 times, and the score for this actually a really fun one that was also cut from the official one. So it's definitely worth a watch to watch these 2 back to back to spot the differences. It's really fun actually.
But it's weird that there was the issue with the sexual things in the cartoon, and yet they had no problem with Bugs for 2 seconds holding what looks like a scrotum. It's just weird how they point out one thing and the other, because you just know it was deliberately made to look like a scrotum, because it's a Clampett cartoon. He does stuff like that.
But there's another fun fact about the dog character. He's voiced by Sam Wolf, who is a famous personality back in the 40s. But it's a funny name because of the characters of Ralph Wolf and Sam Sheepdog that Chuck Jones would create later. So maybe that was I think Chuck Jones said he knew someone called Ralph Wolf, which is how he came up with the character. But this dog is voiced by a guy named Sam Wolf, and he was paid $100 for this work on this cartoon. Which is a lot more than Mel Blanc received. He received only $65 per cartoon. So for some reason it was like a novelty to get Sam Wolf, I guess. Yeah, this is Bob McKimson animation again.
Yeah, it's beautiful looking Bugs, you know. And definitely such a great performance by Mel. Mel is doing Bugs imitating
Yeah.
Elmer. It's just crazy, just amazing.
So the other animators in this cartoon are Manny Gould and Gil Turner, but I'm not really able to spot those. I mostly think Rod Scribner and Bob McKimson are really easy to spot. You know, if you've seen a few Bob Clampett cartoons.
Different
So
bit.
this
Yeah, see,
part coming up in the official version, you see Bugs, lifting up his feet to show the audience that he's not in any danger. But there wasn't in the official version. So right here, it just looks like Bugs is being, a chunk is eaten out of him, and actually, I think the part that is added in the official version that was drawn by McKimson, it looks really choppy and illogical when you look at Bugs' face. It's kind of jarring, actually, that shot. But I understand it should be there.
yeah, it looks pretty gruesome because I think it was McKimson himself that
He
sort of
looks
reworked
pretty
this
dead
cartoon.
right here.
Yeah, wow.
So the dog's actually kind of stressed out about it as well, just like the audience. It's really gruesome, actually, this part, if you don't know that, he isn't really dead, but...
Yeah, it definitely, and it's because as choppy as that insert was, oh, here we go, bang. Bugs is a murderer. Bugs is a murderer. It's like that's full on. But that bit before being added in the sandwich where he was showing that he was okay, despite being choppy, it was right addition, I think, to add. So, but
yeah,
wow,
it would have been too
Bugs
gruesome otherwise.
Yeah, I think the official release is better personally. It just works a little better, but still, it's interesting to see an alternate take, isn't it?
Yeah, a few things are really choppy looking when you look at the official version, and you can see where it was supposed to be in the director's cut. It's almost a minute longer, but some parts are dragged out. But they're also funnier sometimes when they when you look at them the way they were supposed to be. And apparently someone, but I haven't been able to find out who it was, said that Bugs couldn't be shown on screen killing another animal. So that were the exact words. So if you have Bugs killing another animal off screen, maybe that's all right. Or maybe if you have Bugs killing a human, that's all right. But you couldn't show him on screen killing another animal. That's the thing that got it cut.
Yeah, but I personally think it doesn't work. I think the dog shooting himself worked better. I mean, all right, I don't like seeing any animal killing themselves, but for the purposes of a Clapper cartoon, I think the other one works better. But that's just me.
I like both. I like both versions of this. And also at the very end, you see the dog is still alive and he's speaking to the audience. So they make it very clear that he's not, dead.
Yeah, exactly. They drive that point home, and of course, Bugs is clearly not dead either, even though it looked like half of his body's done. So just to finish off this review, I just want to go through the short again because there were a few things I missed here and there, but thankfully most of it already was covered, so I'll just be doing the rest of it. But just before we do that, I did want to mention about the title itself. It should be apparent, but for the few that aren't aware, the title itself is a double play on, of course, hair ribbon, something you type your hair in if you have long hair, but you may not be aware that ribbon, as in how it's spelled in the title, that was another word for teasing at the time. So rabbit teasing, hair ribbon. So that's what that's all about. So looking at this short again, and this will be just for the original version. We've already covered all the differences in the quote-unquote director's cuts. So when we see the dog in the repeated animation that I showed just a few moments ago, the first thing he says is, "How do you do?" So every time you hear that in Looney Tunes, that comes from the Mad Russian radio character. And the fact that it starts off with that here, that's saying, yeah, this radio character that's really popular. We're going to use this type of character for the rest of the short. And audiences at the time would have been well aware of the Mad Russian character. And thankfully, even if you didn't know that, and I'd say a lot of people wouldn't know that these days, it's a forgotten part of pop culture history, it's still funny. It's a funny voice, and it's just this really weird Russian-sounding character. So it's timeless in a different kind of way, isn't it?
looking for little grey rabbit.
So we see the dog is sniffing bugs, which we already discussed is shorter than the director's cut. And he says B.O. like it's a foghorn type thing. Steph already mentioned in the track that this is from a commercial, but I can confirm it's specifically from Lifebuoy soap. And I do love the sound of it. I wonder how they achieved that voice. Is it how they did the Casey Jr. voice of the train in Dumbo in a similar way, where they had like this little machine that they spoke into? If you know how that vocal effect would have been achieved, definitely let me know in the comments below. Now, I love the look of Bugs when the dog is asking if Bugs has seen a rabbit. So it's kind of like what Chuck Jones will do later on, but with Elmer, where Elmer is so stupid it has no idea what a rabbit looks like, right? But anyway, it's interesting how Clamper was so loose with the animators in terms of picking them on what to do, because it starts off as Scribner, he goes to another animator in the close-up when Bugs is thinking, and then he goes to another animator when Bugs is asking the dog questions. And when Bugs is asking questions about what does the bunny do and all that sort of stuff, that's another gag that will be reused later on for Buckaroo Bugs. Admittedly, I think it works better in Buckaroo Bugs, so they sort of refine what they did here. Not saying it's bad or anything, but it is something that Clampett definitely reused later on, and it's not really surprising. The two shorts also share the same writer, so there's that. And I love how Bugs is torturing this dog without the dog even realizing it, because that's how stupid this dog is. And in this bit, the animation is as wild as what Scribner would normally do. I love seeing the other animators take on the more wilder type of animation that Clampett shorts are known for. And the sound cue of Here We Go Around the Mulberry Bush is hilarious, especially after Bugs dumps the dog in the hole, and then when he skips away, you hear the last few notes of the song. And then in the next shot, you hear a few notes of the song in a different tone, where it's like, yeah, I know, I was tricked. And the dog, of course, realizes it.
Like this? Into his hole? Like this?
So moving on, and when Bugs is tying up that, I'm assuming, is that a flotation device? See, this doesn't make sense. They're going to be underwater, so you would think he'd have something heavier inside so that he stays to the bottom. I don't know. Cartoon logic, whatever. I don't care. But I just thought it was interesting. But in one shot, it definitely looks like a scrotum, because I mentioned that in the commentary track, but some of you might be going, what is he talking about scrotums for? But anyway, that's the shot I was referring to when I was talking with Fox about that, okay? So now we're underwater for the rest of the short, and it's an interesting direction, and it's not something, when I first saw this short, I was expecting. I thought it was just going to be a typical Bugs versus Dumb Dog thing on land, but hey, it's a nice variety. It's something different at least, even though it would have no doubt added a lot to the expense, as we mentioned in the track. Now, after a funny mini little chase scene there, we see Bugs, and of course, this has to be one of his best cross-dressing moments as a mermaid. If you're wondering what he's singing the song It Can't Be Wrong by Max Steiner and Kim Gannon.
Wrong, would it be wrong to kiss? Saying I feel like this. Hello, big boy.
And I always love hearing Mel Blanc singing as Bugs disguised as a woman. It's top-notch stuff. It's so good. And when he mentions, hello, big boy, that line is attributed to actress Mae West, who was a sex symbol of the 30s and 40s. And the dog short takes a long time to realize that he just went past a quote-unquote beautiful woman. Really isn't that bright, is he? But anyway. And what kills me is the eyelash fluttering from Bugs and how he uses that fake tail as a finger. Speaking of which, how is he doing that anyway? I know, cartoon logic, but kind of disturbing to think about, but whatever. Now, in a shot that now makes this whole short unwatchable, nah, kid, of course, but you'll notice him from one frame to another, Bugs shifts over a little bit. I think what probably happened here is that when they were doing the camera work for that scene, they realized at one point, whoops, Bugs is a little bit too close to the dog where he was going to be placed, so they had to move him over. And you would think that they would reshoot it, but presumably Clampett would have been far behind in his work, so it may be just for time and money that they've decided, look, let's just move him over, and we don't think anyone's going to be talking about it, 70 or 80 odd years after the fact. But anyway, I just thought it was an interesting thing that I noticed. Now, come on, one of the greatest lines in Looney Tunes history no one has ever really heard of is, Mama, buy me that.
Mama, buy me that! Woo, woo, woo! Wow, woo, woo, woo!
It sounds like it's something from the radio or a movie or something, so if it is, let me know, but as far as I can tell, I can't seem to find anything. And I'm also a little bit too scared to type in "Mama buy me that" in Google. And the dog in a different voice says, "Let us play games," which I'm sure, again, is imitating someone, and I can't seem to find that reference. So once again, if you guys know, let me know in the comments below.
Let us play games.
Okay, Don Juan.
I love how it's just his lips animated in that bit. And Bugs slaps the dog, and the game that is being played is, of course, going to be tag. And we briefly hear that spring song. Now, this is one bit that I do kind of prefer the director's cut version, where it just goes on for a little bit longer. But whatever, it's still pretty funny here anyway. And that's some tale, hitting the dog with such force that he ends up going through a rock. I mean, cartoon logic, of course, but wow, that's some tale. And then Bugs says, "This is the best disguise I ever thunk up." And I will say, Bugs, that's the best disguise for you so far. You'll definitely have some better ones coming up in your career. And I love the timing of that chase scene with the dog attempting to bite Bugs to the music played. You know, Clamper may not be known for his musical timing, but when he does it pretty well a lot of the time. And the dog is saying he wants to have a rabbit sandwich, and I love just how instant Bugs turns into the waiter, and we hear a rendition of the Latin Quarter in that scene as well, and Mel's voice work as Bugs imitating a waiter here is, of course, top notch as always. And we hear, "So sorry, we are fresh out of rabbits." So what does Bugs do? He just turns into Elmer briefly, which is kind of weird. But to put this in perspective though, by now these two characters, so Bugs and Elmer, were in a few shorts together, so audiences would know who Elmer is, and even if they didn't, they'll still find this pretty funny. And naturally, hearing Mel Blanc voicing Bugs imitating Arthur Q. Bryant's Elmer, what can I say? It's absolutely incredible. You know, like Mel Blanc, not only was he good at his own voices, but he's always good at doing vocal characterizations of other characters, doing his own characters, so it's amazing, absolutely amazing.
Shh, I'm hunting for a wabbit. Shh, he's hunting for a wabbit.
The actor who does the Mad Russian dog here even does a similar thing, so he does the Mad Russian voice imitating Elmer as well for a brief moment. And then he naturally gets very angry, goes into despair, yelling, "Rabbit!" That delivery, once again, top notch.
Wabbit!
And when we see a carefree Bug singing "Hunting I Will Go" in that Elmer imitation voice, which leads up to the final sandwich gag, which we already discussed. I'll just point two more things with that before we wrap it up. We hear a cup of coffee, a sandwich, and you as the cue, because what else is Carl Starling going to pick for that scene involving a sandwich, right? And my goodness, watching this again, I just love Mel Blanc's screams of pain and the dog's shock and horror at what he's done, and he's kind of like a dog version of Elmer, isn't he? You know, and speaking of Elmer, you know, in a few shorts, Bugs even does that fake death speech like he's done in a few already, and he'll do so in future shorts to come. And of course, we end the short right there. So this short is interesting from a historical point of view, as we've discussed, with the two differing versions. But even if you don't know the history, this short is just plain funny. It is an interesting short, how it takes place mostly underwater, but this is peak Clampett, and it's absolutely hilarious. It's not a personal go-to one for me. I love the old grey hair and Buckaroo Bugs and all that, but my goodness, this is definitely up there. This has to be like 9.5 out of 10, and either version's fine. And as I said in the comment track, I do prefer the theatrical cut with one or two little caveats, but they're both fine. So just be aware that on the Bugs Bunny 80th, only the theatrical cut is in HD, whereas the other cut's only in standard definition, but whatever, they're both watchable and they're both funny. But that'll do it for this one. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and until next time, take care.
This shouldn't even happen to a dog.